What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I found this pretty fun guy chilling in the garden today. Mushrooms are a sign of healthy soil. My assumption is the wood chip mulch has started to break down a bit. Nothing to be worried about. I'm tired of putting up with the eggplants and their drama, so I attached each of my eggplants to a bamboo pole. They're still thirsty, but at least they're standing. I think a few of these eggplants might be ready to harvest. They look shiny enough, I'm just not 100% certain. Per the suggestion of many commenters, I've decided to prune the flowers off my strawberries. The zucchini in this container looks absolutely perfect. And I'm so glad I gave this zucchini a couple days to thicken up. I'll be eating good tonight. Then I checked on these green zucchini. They all look really healthy and delicious. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? My spaghetti squash is actively trying to take over this raised bed, and it seems to be hindering these radishes. I say that because the red radishes over here far away from the spaghetti squash look great. So instead of pruning the squash back, I procrastinated by watering everything in the garden. It's getting hot, and for the first time in weeks, there's no rain on the forecast, so I'll have to make sure to stay on top of hydration. While watering my Roma tomatoes, I found this little fella. Seeing the first tomato of the season motivated me to clean up my tomato plants a bit. I pruned off all of the lower leaves and these suckers coming out of the little armpits here. Pruning the leaves helps in multiple ways, allowing the plant to focus more on root production as well as fruit production. Plus, keeping leaves away from the soil and improving airflow will help fight disease. I'm harvesting 2 zucchini every day at this point. I'm thinking I'll throw these green ones on the grill. I love having a little grocery store in my backyard. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? The strawberries outside grew their first flower, but I don't want strawberries just yet. I want the plants to grow a bit more first, so off with its head. Over here is a runner, an extension of the plant that eventually creates new roots. We keep these. Something's wrong with this broccoli. It might be getting too hot in this location. With the open flowers like this, the flavor will be no good. Luckily, these broccoli have a bit more shade. I harvested yet another fantastic looking zucchini and decided it was time for this eggplant as well. Shiny and firm. Let's hope it tastes good. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I gave each of my summer squash plants a little trim. I cut off all the smaller leaves at the bottom of the plant. Eventually, all of the big leaves on the bottom will go as well. I'm training the zucchini vertically on this tomato cage, but these zucchini decided to pull a prank and grow outside of the cage. These things are a little smarter than I expected. You may have noticed a slight discoloration in the leaves. It's incredibly common and completely natural, but this leaf is cooler than all the rest. It even matches the color of its own zucchini. I'm such a nerd for plant stuff. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I can't believe I made this mistake when I pruned my spaghetti squash. I was trying to remove all the vines and leaves wreaking havoc on the raised bed, but I didn't pay close enough attention and trimmed off the largest part of the plant. I'm really disappointed in myself because this one already has spaghetti squash growing. Not all is lost though, because I can still train the rest of the plant up like this, and since I can just throw what I cut off into my compost bin, I won't stay upset about it for long. At least I learned a lesson from my major mess up today. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I harvested as many mature zucchini as I could find. This one looks kind of like a pepper, or a phone, I guess. A lot of people have asked me why so many zucchini plants. I thought about that question while frantically picking weeds out of my raised bed. The full truth is, growing zucchini just makes me happy. It's the perfect vegetable for beginner gardeners. It's extremely prolific, and I just really love the taste. I could probably eat zucchini every single day. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I found this funky looking pepper in one of my containers. I don't know what caused this pepper to grow like this, so I ran a health check on all of my plants. My peppers seem healthy for the most part. They're ripening right on schedule. I'm a little concerned that these peppers are so short. My eggplants all seem to be doing well, and my snap peas are still braving the heat. Just look at the size of that pea. This is exactly what I was hoping for, and my tomato plants have finally flowered. Soon these pretty flowers will hopefully turn into yummy tomatoes. These loofah plants have shot up right out of the ground. I wish I could say the same for my okra. These cantaloupe plants are definitely enjoying the heat, and so are these cucumbers. This one attached itself to the trellis all on its own. I had to help this one. My spaghetti squash is ginormous. This is from just 3 seeds, and the fruits are all looking healthy, and the zucchini is looking better than ever. A healthy garden is a happy garden. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I bought this bag of bone meal. Yesterday I found a pepper with blossom end rot, which can be caused by irregular watering or a lack of calcium. In my case, probably both. We've been having long thunderstorms lately, so I haven't been regularly watering the garden myself. The forecast shows that coming to an end though, so I need to be a little more mindful of how I take care of the plants in my containers. I gave each of my eggplants, peppers, and tomatoes a little bit of bone meal. Then I watered each container for 10 seconds. Every day I'll check the moisture in the containers, either by sticking my hand in the dirt or lifting the container up to see how much it weighs. The goal is to figure out a routine, so on certain days I just know I have to go water, instead of having to put energy in checking each bucket every time. For me, it's about minimizing any anxiety in the Nebraska garden and optimizing for fun, because gardening is so much fun. Fun for everybody, in fact. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? Something strange is going on with my zucchini plants. Two of these zucchini are growing out of the same stem. It's like they fused together, stacked on top of each other. And that's not the only one. These two are pointing away from each other, but they come from the same stem. The same thing is happening over here with the green zucchini. I found a fourth pair over here, and believe it or not, that's 5 pairs of zucchini who are conjoined at the same stem. I'm thinking this isn't just random chance. I might be doing something wrong. My first guess is fertilizer. Maybe my plants need a little more food. Or maybe this is completely normal. I've never seen it before. I mean, who am I to complain about doubling my yields? That sounds like every gardener's dream. In the meantime, I guess I'll keep harvesting these single zucchini. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? This mutant zucchini grew big enough to harvest. A pair of conjoined zucchini grew side by side. The cause is undetermined, but the people in the comments have told me this is probably from some sort of cross-pollination. Whatever the reason, I don't really care too much. As long as I can still eat it, I'm fine with whatever. And look at that, it's pretty much 2 zucchini that just grew side by side. I separated each piece and they're definitely zucchini snowmen. I added olive oil, salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning, and threw the little zucchini figure eights onto the frying pan. These look so good. I'm just gonna sneak a bite here. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I spotted this red pepper in a sea of green. This lunchbox pepper has ripened way before any of my others. It looks like in just a couple more days I'll have my first pepper harvest, so I better keep these things hydrated. I'm starting to water each container every 2 or 3 days, just playing it by ear and seeing how hot it gets. Speaking of the heat, I'm surprised I'm still getting these big harvests of snap peas. I'm starting to doubt it'll make it through all the 90-degree days ahead of me, but these cucumbers are gonna absolutely love the heat. I had to give them a little hand finding their way back to the trellis. Another surprise is this cilantro plant. It didn't start strong, but it's really loving the shade from all these onions above it. And the spearmint in my front yard rose bushes are going crazy, and I just had to show off the strawberries in the greenhouse. But it wouldn't be a Nebraska garden video without a zucchini harvest. I performed very careful surgery on one of these conjoined zucchini. Looks like the backyard's throwing a 2-for-1 sale. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? An 1.5 inches of rain made a surprise appearance overnight, so today I celebrated with my biggest harvest of the season so far. I harvested zucchini after zucchini after zucchini after zucchini after zucchini after zucchini after double zucchini. It didn't look possible to separate the two of these, but that's fine because believe me, there is plenty more growing. I harvested this eggplant to add a little variety to my day, and this pepper has just been calling out to me. I'm so excited to see how it tastes. Join me in the Nebraska garden for a mid-June harvest. We're starting off with broccoli, collecting all the little side shoots, and then the main head, and another broccoli side shoot over here. Check out these yellow onions. You can see the bulbs starting to form under the dirt. I've been waiting on these for a long time. My spinach plant has basically gone to seed. In a few days I'll remove the plant entirely and keep all of the dried seeds. This is an arugula seed pod. They still need to dry out before I can store them. At least that's what I think. I've never done this before. I'm not entirely sure. I am sure that some of these radishes are ready to come out of the ground. I love when they're this vibrant rose color. They got that little spicy radish kick in them. Notice the damage on this zucchini plant. I don't know what caused this. My first guess is wind from the storm took the top clear off. It might be time to start some more squash seeds if this is gonna happen. But I don't know, I think I have plenty right now. And these snap peas are still producing. What a great day in the Nebraska garden. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? My spaghetti squash has officially taken over. I've decided just to let nature run its course with this one, and by the looks of these maturing squash, that's a decision I'm not going to regret. My loofah plants are also getting unruly and will need a trellis soon, and for some reason my cantaloupe has attached itself to one of my loofahs, so I set the loofah free and helped the cantaloupe find its way back to the trellis. And I spied a couple more young tomatoes. I'm a little concerned about the end rot on this one. I'm hoping I can just cut the bottom off when I harvest, and I was so happy when I saw saw more of these red lunchbox peppers. Snip snap, and I found myself a little treat. And these marigolds just bloomed. This is just such an exciting time of year. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I found a very peculiar pepper that led me on a pepper health hunt. I went through each of my 17 pepper buckets looking for strange peppers, and I found this one suffering from extreme end rot, and it was rotted so bad I accidentally tore it off the stem with no effort. So I cut into the pepper to see what it looked like on the inside. That would have been pretty gross to take a bite out of. So I started double checking the bottoms of peppers for end rot. Some of these are rotting on the side. I'm hoping I can just cut these parts off the pepper when I harvest. But this is the only pepper with a hole in it, so it's time to investigate. I missed a lot of red flags when I opened the pepper. It looks like it's full of insect droppings. This is a bug warning. If you're too squeamish to see a bug in the next 5 seconds, please look away. Further investigation led to me finding this little guy making this pepper his home. You can see I was very brave by the way I reacted. So I added olive oil and soy sauce to a small dish and placed it in my garden. These little guys are called earwigs. They look really spooky, and they do help with aphid control, but I just can't have them digging into my peppers. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? My cucumber plants have flowered. Check out the little baby cucumber here. These are gonna make the best pickles one day. Check out this baby strawberry. My cantaloupe flowered too, although no sign of fruit just yet. And I found another delicious red pepper, but I'm gonna leave this one on the plant. Let's see what happens. The summer heat has done a number on my snap peas, but after a taste test, they still seem fine, just barely hanging on. This is probably the biggest spaghetti squash I have so far. I'm so excited for the rest of summer. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? It's officially the first day of summer, and my peppers greeted me with these bright orange colors. My lunchbox peppers started ripening, and so did these red nights. And these sweet sunrises look so delicious. I did some much needed pruning on my zucchini plants. I knocked off a bunch of the leaves that were just laying on the soil, not really in the sun. I was aiming for leaving about 10 leaves on each plant, but to be honest, I just eyeballed it. And of course, I stopped to harvest this mouth-watering zucchini. Look at that mess. I could be the guy that cleans that up. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? They called me crazy for growing this many zucchini plants, and honestly they might have a point, but I still don't care. If I really wanted to, I definitely could eat this much zucchini. I might get sick of it, but food is food, and I have friends and family who are more than willing to take it off my hands. Plus, if I'm gonna have a market stand one day, I need to learn how to grow in bulk, so I'm okay with being the crazy zucchini guy. There are much worse things to be. For example, I could be one of these rotted zucchini. Gotta get these out of here. Pruning these off will help the plants focus on healthy fruit production. The same goes for these peppers. At first I considered just cutting around the rot, but after thinking about it, who wants to eat a half-rotted pepper? Not me. And I don't really need to with all these delicious peppers growing. Plus I harvested my first sweet sunrise. Summer just started, and this is the sweetest harvest yet. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? This bumblebee must be working overtime for me. It's no surprise my spaghetti squash have gotten so big. He must be pollinating these cucumbers too. And it would be time to pick this tomato if not for the blossom end rot. Most of my first tomatoes are suffering from end rot actually. This one seemed to avoid it though. I'm hoping the same happens for these flowers. Speaking of flowers, these radishes bolted. So did my broccoli and cilantro. My onions are swelling up, and my arugula seeds are starting to dry out. And this spinach is overdue for being removed. Sable agrees. A common question beginner gardeners have is, when do I water my plants? A confusing answer I seem to see a lot is, water your plants when they need water. Well, how do you tell? Here's an easy method for telling when it's time to water your plants. Just stick your finger into the dirt. If it's dry, it's time to water. It's really as easy as that. We're experiencing 100-degree temperatures in Nebraska right now, so my plants have been extra thirsty lately, and I don't want to be out in the heat all day either. All I really did today was water my plants, but on a day like today, I think of that as a success. It's okay to be a little lazy in the garden. Just sit back, relax, and watch your plants grow. That's what I'm doing right now anyway. This is why I started all of my peppers from seed indoors at the beginning of February, so I could have amazing harvests in June in the Nebraska garden. Nebraska's summer growing season may not start until May, but it extends all the way until October. Since my peppers were fully mature by the start of the season, I'm enjoying an early harvest. And am I crazy to think this pepper looks like one of those candy pumpkins you get around Halloween? That is, if you have good taste. And since peppers are perennials, I'll try to overwinter some of the best performers. But until then, I'm gonna keep enjoying these tasty treats. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I found an imposter among my spaghetti squash. This one doesn't quite look like the rest. This is more what I'm looking for, a fruit with the pale, harder skin. But this one looks more like a zucchini than a spaghetti squash. I'm guessing since the plants are all so close together, the spaghetti squash was cross-pollinated by a bug that came from the zucchini. I'm excited to see what it looks like on the inside, but for now all these zucchini are requiring more attention. They're pretty much the pick-me vegetable of the Nebraska garden, both literally and figuratively. No complaints here. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I took lazy gardening a little too far. I intentionally let this bolted spinach plant dry out so I could harvest its seeds, but I waited too long to harvest them. These branches used to be covered in seed clusters, and now they're all in my raised bed and surrounding mulch. So now we'll have little spinach plants popping up unexpectedly from time to time. That's fun. Another lazy gardening product is the spaghetti squash plant. At some point I decided just to let it grow wild, but it's gone too far. It's encroaching on my tomatoes, which I just can't have. It carefully attached itself to these blades of grass, which I find very impressive. And did you know that you can get splinters from squash plants? Because I do now. And I may have accidentally spread misinformation about this squash. I guess the reason that this looks like this instead of a normal spaghetti squash was cross-pollination. But I never claimed that to be 100% true. Again, I'm a beginner gardener myself. I really have no idea what's going on half the time. I do know this is the largest fruit I've ever harvested. It's the size of a football, or a totally normal-sized human head. It's not big at all. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I harvested my first cucumber of the season. This one's a little small, but that's okay. Better to harvest the first cucumber too early than too late. The summer sun has got to my snap peas, but that's okay as well. I let them dry out so I can save the seeds. The zucchini in this container is definitely not growing as well as the ones in my raised bed. I'll just skip the container zook next time. There's plenty more marigolds popping up as well, and little strawberries. Soon I'll be enjoying my first one. This is why I garden. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? My greenhouse strawberries are in pretty rough shape. It just gets way too hot during the day for these to stay in here, so I unhooked the hanging baskets and found them a better spot in my garden. I hope they like zucchini as much as I do. And there's more not so great news. It looks like some kind of critter has been enjoying my soybean plants. I'm guessing it's one of the rabbits that's made a home under my deck. I'll probably just end up tearing these out to make more room for fall plants. So I stole the trellis and moved it over to my loofahs. Sure beats buying a new trellis. And this is what my dried out snap peas look like right now. I think these seeds are exactly what I'm looking for. I'll have to take out the whole bed soon, and I couldn't resist another big harvest of peppers. Once again, hard work and patience pays off. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? It's no secret that my favorite vegetable in the garden is zucchini. And with harvests like this every single day, it's no wonder why. But I want to keep harvesting zucchini like this well into the fall. So I planted a few more zucchini along with more dill and cilantro. I filled these cells with my homemade potting mix and flooded the tray. In my experience, it's better to plant into already wet soil than to worry about watering after planting. I planted 4 green zucchini, 3 yellow zucchini, and 6 each of dill and cilantro. I covered everything with a thin layer of potting mix and topped it all off with this humidity dome. Let's see how they grow. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? These eggplants are shiny and firm enough to harvest. They might be a bit smaller than you'd expect, but I'm growing 2 plants in each container. My thought was maximize the amount of fruit I get and worry less about the size. That was my philosophy with the peppers as well. Most buckets have 2 plants sharing the soil and nutrients. While the peppers are a bit smaller, I'm harvesting quite a bit of them. The crisper drawer in our fridge has been full for the last few days. I'm so glad I planted a variety of peppers this year. The smaller lunchbox peppers are great to bring to work or just enjoy as a snack during the day. And I'm so excited for my larger red nights to finally ripen. I can already tell it's going to be a great summer.